Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech, so honest it hurts. And today I'm going to tell you why it is that I changed my mind about the Vision Pro after I changed my mind about the Vision Pro once before and made videos about it. And you're going to whatever. But, you know, this is how it works. I'm an ever-changing being. Information comes in. I parse that information and then I allow myself to feel differently. So I know some of you are going to be like, oh, this guy's doing it again. And yeah, okay, I'm doing it again. But using the Vision Pro changed my mind about it. If you want to have some unfiltered conversations about tech, hit that subscribe button down below because that's basically what I do here, whether you like it or not. Now, video time. I know you clicked on it and you're like, oh, this guy again, he did it again. Well, guess what? Yes, I was wrong about the Vision Pro. Is it clickbait? You tell me. I'm not sure if it's clickbait or not, but the truth of the matter is I got the Vision Pro after I said I wasn't going to get it. And then I used it for a while and I thought, well, it's not all that great. And then I used it for a little bit longer and I thought, well, actually, it's pretty cool. If you watched my previous videos about the Vision Pro, you'll know that as I got closer to launch, I went from, I'm definitely buying it to, I don't think I want to spend that money right now. And Apple wasn't going to give me one to try. So I thought I'd make a few videos about my overall thoughts and wait until it offered a little bit more value. But as many people in the comments of my videos kindly reminded me, I am a full-time tech reviewer on the YouTubes, and I cover a lot of Apple stuff, and so they felt like it was kind of my job to get one and check it out and not talk out my rear end hole or something. I don't know. So I drove the 2.5 hours to Des Moines, Iowa, the only Apple Store location in the state of Iowa, and I picked one up. Since I got it home, I have been on a journey. From judging the Vision Pro like I would judge any product or a piece of tech, to judging it like I would any other VR or AR headset, to slowly understanding the unique experience it offers over any other VR AR headset that I've tried or that I've owned myself. And while I thought it wasn't going to be worth getting, and I said so in more than one video, I am here to eat my crow and admit that I was wrong. Now, let me tell you why. At first, my biggest overall impression was I had no real idea how to judge the Vision Pro. Do I judge it for what it is? Do I assess it for what it will be? Vision Pro that we have right now, Vision Pro Mark 1, is likely not going to be fully formed. You know, like we're not going to have what Vision Pro is going to be in mature form until version 4, version 5. But with an aspirational device like this one, it's likely worth spending some time talking about where it's going, since where it is really only shows the promise of that future. But first, I had to use it, and the setup process was much more detailed and much more, I guess, Apple-like than the setup process for any other headset that I've used in the past. It walks through fit and then eye tracking, and it makes you go like this with your hands, and it does the hand tracking thing. The persona setup, which is frightening right now. The whole process, maybe 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more. But after that, the Vision Pro is pretty much rock solid. Every time you put it on, it has eyeball recognition, and it just sees your eyeballs and opens up. I do have lens inserts that I got for mine because I have really bad vision, and fitting the lens inserts was actually really easy and a thorough process in and of itself. The lenses are magnetically sealed to the device, and then they pair to the device as well, so it can tell you like, hey, these are this prescription and they are definitely yours, which is, I guess, a nice thing to know. After setup, you get out in front of you this sort of, I guess it's kind of like an iPad or an iPhone home screen, but it's like floating out there in front of you. From there, you know, you can start to explore. You pinch things and crashing you. That's what I feel like every time. Crashing. If you don't know the SCTV skit, then look it up. Like most people, I had a hard time figuring out, like, at first, what was the Vision Pro really good for, except for like watching movies? Was it good enough to justify buying it in addition to the other devices that I have in my life that aren't cheap either? First off, the visual fidelity of the Vision Pro is by far the best that I've seen in any headset. You really see two things when you look through the Vision Pro's lenses. You see the elements that it is projected into this virtual space, and then you see the world outside the Vision Pro through the pass-through cameras that are there. The elements that the Vision Pro creates are incredibly sharp and realistic. The pass-through cameras, not quite as much, but I have caught myself looking through the cameras at, like, say, my computer here in front of me or something, and like mistaking the computer for an element that the Vision Pro has projected. So, I mean, they're not great. They're not that bad. There are reasons. I'll get into it later on in the video. Now, when you go through this thing where you're like, oh, hey, and it's like something real instead of something projected, it's kind of it kind of messes with you, honestly. I actually did the first half of the last Painfully Honest Tech podcast with the Vision Pro on, just using the pass-through cameras to see what was in front of me. And everything was relatively clear. Everything was clear enough for me to read the screen that was in front of me and do what I needed to do there. But after a half an hour or so, I did experience some eye strain. I have eye strain when I look at screens anyway, so that wasn't really a surprise to me. But Vision Pro's pass-through could have a little bit better fidelity. I watched some video content later on that night, Mad Max Fury Road in 3D, and it actually was a pretty cool experience. The video fidelity is pretty incredible, and the onboard speakers actually do a very good job of creating like a spatial experience around your head. They don't sound like they're just like firing into your ears. That it does have a very spacious sound to it. As for the speakers themselves, I mean, they are definitely better speakers than you would get on a product like this typically, I would imagine. I don't know if I'd want to sit down and have like critical listening music experiences with them, but they're not bad at all for just casual music listening or listening to a podcast or something like that. But if you want privacy or better fidelity, you have to use headphones pretty much. And there is, of course, no headphone jack. In fact, there's no way to connect it to anything unless you spend $100 a year to become a developer and buy a $300 USB dongle so you can connect it to other stuff. So AirPods are going to be your best experience since they have the spatial audio built in. And I do want to say that I like spatial audio, but only with video stuff, not music. I don't really like it when listening to music. So if I talk about spatial audio and enjoying it, I'm talking about watching something in video form. It wasn't until my fourth day using Vision Pro that I really honestly started to get it. I saw a lot of other creators saying like, oh, geez, I haven't picked up my Vision Pro in 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever. And I decided I was just going to, use it a couple of more days and sort of see what I found myself doing. So my initial thought with the Vision Pro is it can either be something that you like watch content inside of the headset and be completely locked off from the rest of the world, or you can see through and it'll have ancillary things, or you can, hook it up to your Mac or something like that. But I was actually, after a couple of days, kind of shocked. I found myself going through my morning routine wearing the Vision Pro and using the Vision Pro instead of being inclined to tether it to my Mac or use it as like an ancillary accessory. Instead, I took advantage of what was available on the Vision Pro itself. And I didn't even really want to connect it to my Mac. Now, that won't always be the case because the Vision Pro doesn't have everything that I need in it. But for my morning routine, stuff that I do every morning and, just kind of get myself ready to start my day, it was perfect. And there were a lot of different ways that you could use the Vision Pro to really accentuate your daily experience. Now, one thing that I did was I hung out with my family in the morning while they were getting ready to go to school and work, and I found myself I was just recording video with the Vision Pro on my face, which to me was really fun. And you don't really get to see what it looks like in the Vision Pro because it is like a sort of three-dimensional video, and that doesn't come across when it's recreated on a two-dimensional screen for you. I put a short montage of video up on my channel that you can watch. I'll link it down in the description. Just some fun things that I did, but again, it doesn't look like what it looks like when you're doing it through the Vision Pro. After the family was out the door, I did a few things using pass-through. I just kept it on my face. And then I engaged one of the environments. I really like the Mount Hood sitting by a lake environment right now. And I got into like my emails and my social medias, and I opened up Safari and I did some light writing, and then I got into the Notes app and I did some more writing, and I did this all on the Vision Pro with, you can either dial in one of the environments so you're totally immersed in an environment, or you can dial the environment back and see through everything. But I liked being separated. There's something about like sensory deprivation that helps me get focused and do more work. Then I watched some YouTube videos and just sort of fooled around with a few things as I was getting ready to write the script for another video. And then the battery notified me that it was at 20%. So I plugged it in and kept it charging. At that point, I did take it off and go about my day doing other things. Not everything works in the Vision Pro as it should. The personas are ridiculously bad. Why Apple won't at least give us the option to use arm emojis until they get it out of beta or something, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people say that the pass-through video is kind of low res, and it isn't like super crystal clear or anything, but what I think a lot of people are missing is that because it has this eye tracking, the operating system follows your eyes and renders what you're looking at in a higher resolution than the other stuff around you. So the overall effect is that it's not super sharp, but what you're looking at is much more clear. So you get kind of what looks like motion blur, but it's just the eye tracking following your eye around from one place to the other, and then kind of trying to keep that resolution in that sharper area as your eyes move. The eyes people see when you're talking to them with the Vision Pro on those eyes are the stuff of nightmares, and they are buried deep in the darkest crevices of the uncanny valley. I really hope that either Apple gives up on that or they do something a heck of a lot better, because it's terrible. One thing I noticed for me was that half the time the dock or the elements that sort of float in front of you, the icons and stuff, was for some reason like canted horizontally back to the right of me. I don't know if that's something to do with my vision and because this eye is worse than this eye or something like that. I could move things around and kind of get it back to seeming like kind of flat, but sometimes not. When I got into other content, it didn't do that really as much. Like if I was watching a video or something like that, it didn't do that as much. Um, but yeah, just that like having it come up and be like sort of this way was weird to me. I did also have some trouble getting some video to play. Apple TV Plus would play a video, but it would just be a black box with sound, and then I would have to restart the thing. And restarting isn't easy to figure out. Apple doesn't give you like a restart button like you would have in a computer or something like that. You have to hold down both the crown and the button over here until it goes past force quit and the power off slider shows up. I could make a longer list of things that it doesn't do right, but the truth is the product has been out for like 2 weeks, and the thing is remarkably usable, and the more I use it, the more I find ways to use it. So much so that I did change my initial impressions after using it for a couple of more days. Like I wrote this video a couple of days ago, and then I used the Vision Pro some more and rewrote this video because I realized that I was wrong. I was thinking about the Vision Pro all wrong. At first, I thought it had to replace something. It had to replace an Apple device or be something that didn't exist before, like the iPhone or the iPod. But I realized it doesn't really have to be all that, and it isn't. And yet, it's something more that wasn't there before. Apple calls it spatial computing, and I guess that description kind of works. There is a future not too far away where you could put this thing on in the morning and do all your stuff. You get your shit done. In fact, I think I can do that for most of my lighter tasks pretty well. I'd have to connect it to my computer to do things like video editing or whatever. And I don't know if I could really do music related stuff with it, but there is utility that I didn't expect from the Vision Pro all by itself. And as more and more apps come on board and more features are introduced and more bugs get squashed, the Vision Pro will become another Apple device in the ecosystem. So if you think about the Apple ecosystem, you've got the iPhone, you've got the Apple Watch, you've got the iPad, you've got Apple TV, you've got then all the computers, the Mac Air, the MacBook Airs, the desktop computers, MacBook Pros, like everything does a thing that the other product doesn't do. The iPad is a bigger and more user friendly for viewing things screen than the iPhone, and the iPhone was better than the iPod. You get it. And each subsequent MacBook is a little bit more performant and has a few more features than the previous MacBook in the line. All of Apple's devices have this quality where they all sort of sit in a row, and that's what the ecosystem is. And there is a place in the ecosystem for this guy. It both enhances the experiences of other devices, but it has its own qualities and utilities that no other Apple device has. There's been a lot of talk about how Vision Pro somehow signals the beginning of a dystopian future where everybody will live inside of something like this and never speak to another human being again or something like that. I'd argue that for all intents and purposes, we got to that place a long time ago with smartphones. And if you don't believe me, I mean, just think about it. Look around next time you're traveling on the subway or the bus, or you are in a restaurant or in a public place, and look at how many people's faces are glued to their smartphones. I'm just that's just to say we've been in that place for a long time. Vision Pro, I mean, maybe it could actually be better because you're seeing things like you would see on your phone, but you can also see the outside world as opposed to just seeing your phone, right? If you haven't spent a decent amount of time with Vision Pro or at least gone through the demo at an Apple store, it is really hard to explain the experience. I mean, there's an old saying, writing about music is like dancing about architecture. And so talking about Vision Pro is sort of like trying to describe a three-dimensional world to a two-dimensional entity. I don't know exactly how I would do it. And if I show you things from that I've done in the Vision Pro or show you representations or video clips, it's not the same in the 2D experience. And it just doesn't do it justice. Explaining the experience of being totally immersed inside of a film with their immersive video where you are in a three-dimensional virtual space and you've got like rhinos in front of you, or you're standing on the edge of a cliff looking looking down and honestly experiencing vertigo, and there's like somebody walking across a rope toward you, like it's a visceral real experience. And that was the first thing that I saw in the Vision Pro that made me go like, oh, okay, this is a different thing. However, if you haven't had that same experience and I'm trying to talk to you about it, you're just not going to fully understand it. And I know that sounds like a cop out, but it really is true in this case. It's important to say that if you have used another VR or AR product, but not the Vision Pro, you can't really know what the Vision Pro experience is like. I mean, I'm trying to explain it to you, and you can go to the Apple Store and get a demo for a taste of it. But for those who look at the price of the Vision Pro and then look at the MetaQuest 3 and say, oh, I could get the same kind of most of the experience from something that's $500, you're wrong. You can't. I don't want to oversell the Vision Pro experience, but it's important to understand that it's not the same experience that you get from a Quest 3. The Quest 3 is a gaming device that has some VR and AR features to it, but it is a very rudimentary device compared to Vision Pro. They are two different kinds of devices, like a Toyota Corolla and a Cybertruck. They're both cars, but they're way, way different. And yes, the Vision Pro is expensive. No, it's not fully formed. It's not doing everything that it will one day do. Yes, I want to judge it for what it is, but I also have to talk about what it's clear that it's going to be or could be. My biggest worry, as I said in other videos, as it came closer to launch day, was that it wouldn't really provide anything more than a demo of what it would be or could be. And the more I used it and the more it sort of became familiar to me, I realized I was wrong. It took me a while to get it, but I'm starting to get it now. and I'm more excited about Vision Pro than I was when it was first announced. And I'm glad that I didn't just like sort of set it up and use it a little bit and then be like, oh, well, I can make my review now and just leave it at that. I'm glad I did that because now I truly have a better vision of what the Vision Pro is right now and will be down the road. And yes, I changed my mind. I did it again. I flip-flopped. Whatever it is that you want to say that I did, you're not wrong. But here's the thing. I make these videos and I usually make the videos based on how I'm feeling at the time. I am not always going to feel the same way at all times. And so in this case, I went to the effort of grabbing the Vision Pro, using the Vision Pro, learning about the Vision Pro, having a deeper experience with it, and that changed my mind. And I think it's better that I tell you I changed my mind and why I did rather than, just not saying anything. It's more honest to me to be honest with you about when I changed my mind and why than it is to like have some consistent message that fits everybody's definition of what it is that I said before. Everybody changes. It's the nature of life. Thanks for watching. Let's have a boisterous discussion about this down in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe button for more unfiltered, painfully honest tech content. Once again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.